On September 22, 1791, in the working-class neighborhood of Newington Butts, Michael Faraday was born into a world shaped by hardship and labor. The son of a blacksmith, Faraday grew up in a family that struggled financially, a backdrop that profoundly influenced his outlook on life and his relentless pursuit of knowledge. The world he inhabited was far removed from the grandeur of scientific institutions. It was a world of toil and simplicity, where every day presented a new challenge. From an early age, Faraday displayed an innate curiosity that set him apart from his peers. While other children were engrossed in games, young Michael found himself captivated by the natural world around him. He often wandered the streets, collecting stones and observing the way light interacted with different surfaces. This curiosity was nurtured in a family that valued education, despite their limited means. Faraday's mother, who had a few years of formal schooling, encouraged her children to read and explore. It was through her encouragement that Faraday developed a love for books and learning, a love that would guide him through a life filled with scientific exploration. At the age of 14, Michael Faraday's life took a significant turn when he was apprenticed to a local bookbinder named George Ribot. This apprenticeship, while demanding, proved to be a pivotal opportunity for the young man, providing him not only with a means of financial support, but also access to a treasure trove of knowledge that would ignite his insatiable curiosity. The bookbinding shop became a sanctuary for Faraday, a space where he could immerse himself in the written word and explore the vast realms of knowledge. Surrounded by shelves lined with books of all kinds, he felt like an explorer discovering uncharted territory. As he meticulously bound books, Faraday seized every opportunity to read the works of great thinkers, including Isaac Newton, Robert Boyle, and Joseph Priestley. These texts were not merely sources of information, they were windows into a world of ideas that captivated his imagination and fueled his ambition. The smell of leather and paper, the sound of the press, and the sight of the beautiful tomes surrounding him inspired Faraday in profound ways. He would often get lost in the pages, his hands busy with the binding process while his mind wandered through the intricate theories and discoveries laid out before him. One memorable incident during his apprenticeship was when he stumbled upon a particularly dog-eared copy of Joseph Priestley's Experiments and Observations on Different Kinds of Air. The book detailed Priestley's pioneering work on gases, including his discovery of oxygen. Faraday was so entranced by Priestley's experiments that he became determined to recreate them. With no formal training and limited resources, he began conducting his own experiments in the back of the bookbinding shop. He gathered materials from around him, using glass bottles and discarded equipment to mimic the experiments he had read about. This hands-on approach, though rudimentary, marked the beginning of his lifelong passion for experimentation. His fascination with the natural world was also reflected in his interactions with the local community. On weekends, Faraday would often accompany his father to the nearby common, where they would gather materials for their humble home. While his father focused on gathering firewood, young Faraday would take the opportunity to observe the natural surroundings. He became captivated by the behavior of insects, the changing patterns of the sky, and the rustling of leaves in the wind. It was during these quiet moments that he realized the interconnectedness of all things, a revelation that would shape his future scientific inquiries. As Faraday navigated the dual challenges of his apprenticeship and burgeoning curiosity, he began to foster a sense of determination and resilience. The experience at the bookbinder's shop not only honed his skills and craftsmanship, but also laid the foundation for his future as a scientist. Each book he bound became a testament to his growing knowledge, a symbol of the journey he was embarking upon, one that would ultimately lead him to become one of the most influential figures in the history of science. A turning point in Faraday's life came in 1812 when he attended a series of lectures by the esteemed chemist Humphrey Davy at the Royal Institution. These lectures were a revelation, introducing him to the cutting-edge discoveries of the time. Faraday was captivated by Davy's charismatic delivery and the thrilling concepts of chemistry and electricity that he presented. It was at these lectures that Faraday first felt the intoxicating pull of science, realizing that he wanted to be part of this vibrant community of thinkers and innovators. In his heart, a spark was ignited, one that would set him on a path toward greatness. Driven by an insatiable desire to learn, Faraday took a bold step and approached Davy after one of his lectures, requesting an opportunity to work in his laboratory. Davy, recognizing the potential in this ambitious young man, offered him a position as a laboratory assistant. It was a moment that would change the course of Faraday's life, granting him access to a world of scientific exploration that he had only dreamed of. Under Davy's mentorship, Faraday flourished, learning the intricacies of experimental science while immersing himself in the latest research. Faraday's early years in Davy's laboratory were marked by intense dedication and hard work. He became an integral part of Davy's research team, assisting with various experiments, including those involving gases and chemical compounds. Faraday's keen observational skills and intuitive understanding of the scientific method quickly set him apart. His talent for experimentation and his meticulous attention to detail earned him Davy's respect, and he began to gain recognition in the scientific community. However, the journey was not without its challenges. Faraday grappled with feelings of insecurity and self-doubt, often questioning whether he truly belonged in such esteemed company. Despite his growing success, he remained acutely aware of his humble origins. The specter of elitism loomed large in the scientific community, and Faraday sometimes felt like an outsider among his more privileged peers. This tension created an internal conflict, one that Faraday would struggle with throughout his career. He was torn between his desire for recognition and his inherent humility. Despite his reservations, Michael Faraday began to make groundbreaking discoveries that would fundamentally reshape the landscape of science and technology. His work on electromagnetic induction in 1831 marked a watershed moment in the history of science. Through a series of careful experiments, he discovered that a changing magnetic field could induce an electric current in a nearby conductor. This revelation was not merely an academic exercise, it opened up an entirely new realm of possibilities for harnessing electricity. The ability to generate an electric current through electromagnetic induction would later pave the way for the development of electric generators and transformers, technologies that would power industries and transform daily life. Faraday's path to this discovery was paved with challenges and meticulous experimentation. In his laboratory, surrounded by an array of coils, magnets, and wires, he conducted experiments that tested the limits of existing knowledge. One particularly notable experiment involved moving a magnet through a coil of wire, which he observed induced a flow of electricity. His observations led to the formulation of Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, which quantitatively described the relationship between the changing magnetic field and the induced electromotive force, EMF. This principle became the foundation for modern electrical engineering, establishing Faraday as a key figure in the transition from theoretical physics to practical applications. In addition to his work on electromagnetic induction, Faraday made significant contributions to electrochemistry. His laws of electrolysis, established through rigorous experimentation, demonstrated the relationship between electric current and chemical change. He discovered that the amount of substance transformed during electrolysis is directly proportional to the quantity of electricity that passes through the circuit. This principle not only provided a clearer understanding of chemical processes, but also laid the groundwork for future advancements in fields such as electroplating, battery technology, and chemical manufacturing. Faraday's innovative spirit and methodical approach to experimentation allowed him to unlock the intricate connections between electricity and chemistry, illuminating a path that would have profound implications for both science and industry. These contributions were revolutionary, yet Faraday's influence extended beyond mere scientific discoveries. His ability to articulate complex ideas in a clear and engaging manner helped demystify the subjects of electricity and magnetism for a broader audience. Faraday took great care in presenting his findings, often delivering lectures that captivated listeners and inspired a new generation of scientists. He firmly believed that science should be accessible to all, and he dedicated himself to public engagement, recognizing the importance of educating the public about the wonders of electricity and its applications. As the implications of Faraday's work became increasingly apparent, society began to shift. The advent of electric generators and transformers transformed industries, making way for the age of electricity that would power factories, homes, and transportation. The very fabric of modern society was being rewoven through the threads of Faraday's discoveries. The introduction of electric lighting revolutionized urban life, allowing cities to extend their hours of activity well into the night. Transportation systems were also transformed, with electric trains and trams becoming integral components of urban infrastructure. Faraday's work laid the groundwork for these advancements, and his principles remain foundational to the technologies we rely on today. Faraday's pioneering spirit, combined with his dedication to education and public understanding of science, not only cemented his legacy as one of the great scientists of his time, but also as a bridge between the realms of science and society. His ability to inspire others, to connect the dots between abstract theories and practical applications, underscored the profound impact that a single individual can have on the course of human progress. Faraday's groundbreaking findings laid the groundwork for countless technological advancements. His principles of electromagnetism became integral to the development of electrical engineering, enabling innovations that transformed industries and reshaped daily life. The electric generator, the telegraph, and eventually, the electric motor all owe their existence to Faraday's insights. However, the recognition and accolades that often accompany such monumental contributions were not always forthcoming for Faraday. The scientific community, particularly in his early years, was skeptical of his work. Critics dismissed him as a self-taught scientist, questioning the validity of his findings simply because he lacked formal academic credentials. Throughout his career, Michael Faraday encountered skepticism and resistance from established scientists, many of whom adhered to traditional methodologies that prioritized theoretical approaches over experimental validation. This friction was particularly evident in his interactions with prominent figures such as William Thomson, later known as Lord Kelvin, and other members of the Royal Society. While Thomson respected Faraday's work, he often approached science from a mathematical perspective, valuing rigorous theoretical frameworks over the more intuitive, hands-on experiments that Faraday championed. This difference in approach led to some tension, as Faraday's experimental style did not always conform to the expectations of a community that prized mathematical elegance and abstraction. One notable incident highlighting this tension occurred during a discussion on the nature of electricity and magnetism. Faraday had been conducting experiments on electromagnetic induction and was eager to present his findings. However, many established scientists, including Thomson, were skeptical of the idea that a changing magnetic field could produce an electric current without any direct contact. They favored the notion that electricity was a fluid that required direct interaction to manifest, viewing Faraday's ideas as overly simplistic. Faraday, undeterred, continued to advocate for his discoveries, often facing derision from his peers who considered his hands-on approach more akin to art than science. In addition, Faraday's advocacy for the experimental method was sometimes perceived as a challenge to the established scientific hierarchy. He famously stated, "The chief object of all education is not to be able to perform certain exercises, but to teach us to use our faculties for the benefit of our own and of others." This philosophy, emphasizing the importance of experimentation and observation, often put him at odds with those who believed that knowledge should be derived from established theories rather than practical experimentation. Another instance of skepticism arose when Faraday attempted to explain his groundbreaking work on electrolysis to the scientific community. While his experiments clearly demonstrated the relationship between electric current and chemical change, established chemists were reluctant to embrace his findings. They were steeped in traditional theories that did not fully account for Faraday's empirical observations. Despite the clarity and precision of his experimental data, Faraday had to repeatedly defend his conclusions against criticism from chemists who were entrenched in their beliefs. This struggle for acceptance weighed heavily on Faraday, exacerbating his feelings of inadequacy. He often grappled with self-doubt, questioning whether he was indeed worthy of the accolades he received. His humility, while endearing, made him vulnerable to the criticisms of others. Faraday's persistence, however, is a testament to his character. He remained committed to his experimental approach, even as he faced skepticism from established figures in the scientific community. This determination ultimately paid off, as the validity of his work was recognized over time, paving the way for future generations of scientists who would build upon his groundbreaking discoveries. Amidst the turmoil of his scientific endeavors, Michael Faraday found solace in his marriage to Sarah Barnard, whom he wed in 1821. Sarah played a crucial role in grounding Faraday, providing the emotional support he needed during times of uncertainty. Their relationship was characterized by mutual respect and affection, often highlighted by the deep understanding they shared. However, it was also marked by tensions stemming from Faraday's obsessive dedication to his work. The demands of his career frequently encroached on their personal life, leaving Sarah to grapple with the loneliness that accompanied being married to a man consumed by his passions. One particular incident vividly illustrates the dynamics of their relationship. In the late 1830s, as Faraday was engrossed in his experiments on electrolysis, he became increasingly absorbed in his research to the detriment of his home life. One evening, after an intense day in the laboratory, Faraday returned home, consumed by the excitement of a breakthrough he had made. He began to speak animatedly to Sarah about his findings, animatedly demonstrating the principles he had been exploring. However, instead of the enthusiastic response he anticipated, Sarah remained quiet, her expression a mix of concern and fatigue. She gently reminded him that they had planned a special dinner that evening to celebrate their anniversary, a moment she had looked forward to. This reminder snapped Faraday back to the present, making him acutely aware of the emotional cost of his relentless pursuit. He felt a pang of guilt wash over him. In his fervor for discovery, he had inadvertently sidelined the person who had supported him through every challenge. Realizing the impact of his obsession, Faraday made a heartfelt apology. He took Sarah's hands in his, expressing his gratitude for her unwavering support and understanding. Determined to make amends, he insisted they celebrate together, turning their modest dinner into an intimate affair filled with laughter and affection. As they shared a meal by candlelight, Faraday found a renewed sense of purpose in their relationship. It was a reminder that while his scientific endeavors were vital, his partnership with Sarah was equally important, an anchor amid the storms of his intellectual pursuits. This incident became a turning point for Faraday. He began to recognize the necessity of balance in his life, striving to carve out time for Sarah amidst his relentless curiosity. They often enjoyed walks together, where Faraday would share his latest discoveries, but he also made a conscious effort to listen to Sarah, valuing her thoughts and feelings. These moments of connection became essential for both, allowing them to navigate the complexities of his career while nurturing their bond. However, this delicate balance was not always easy to maintain. As Faraday's reputation grew, so did the demands on his time. Invitations to lectures, scientific gatherings, and various engagements often pulled him away from home. Each time he left, he could sense the underlying tension of unfulfilled expectations in Sarah's demeanor. Yet, through it all, Sarah remained a steadfast source of strength for Faraday, providing him with the emotional foundation he needed to continue his groundbreaking work. In the years that followed, Faraday's career flourished, but so did the complexities of their marriage. Despite the emotional distance created by his obsessive dedication to science, Sarah's unwavering support became a cornerstone of Faraday's success. Their relationship, marked by love and mutual respect, ultimately endured the trials of ambition and isolation. Faraday's journey in the world of science was inextricably linked to Sarah's presence, making her an essential part of the narrative of his life and work. As Faraday entered the later years of his life, his health began to decline, marked by various ailments that left him physically weakened. Yet, even in his frailty, his commitment to science remained unyielding. Faraday grappled with the fear of not being able to continue his work, of leaving behind unfinished experiments and unanswered questions. This fear drove him to push through the pain and discomfort that accompanied his declining health, a testament to his unwavering dedication to his craft. In the face of these challenges, Faraday found solace in his faith. His spirituality provided him with strength, guiding his moral compass and offering comfort in times of uncertainty. Faraday's faith was deeply intertwined with his scientific pursuits. He often saw the beauty of creation reflected in the laws of nature. He believed that science was a way to understand the divine, a perspective that sometimes set him apart from his more secular contemporaries. This intersection of faith and science became a defining aspect of his identity, influencing not only his research but also his interactions with others. While Michael Faraday's contributions to science are celebrated and revered, his legacy is not without critique. Some contemporaries questioned his lack of formal education, believing that his hands-on, experimental approach sometimes lacked the theoretical rigor that defined the work of his peers. Faraday was often perceived as an unorthodox scientist. His reliance on experimentation over mathematical modeling placed him at odds with many prominent figures of his time, who adhered to more traditional methodologies. Critics argued that Faraday's work, while groundbreaking, could have been even more impactful had he embraced the mathematical formalism that accompanied the rise of theoretical physics in the 19th century. Additionally, Faraday's intense focus on his research sometimes led him to dismiss or overlook developments in theoretical physics that were crucial to the advancement of his own ideas. For example, the work of James Clerk Maxwell, who later formulated the classical theory of electromagnetic radiation, was building upon concepts that Faraday had pioneered. Yet, Faraday had not fully engaged with the mathematical formulations that Maxwell introduced. This disconnect illustrated a gap in Faraday's work. While he laid the groundwork, his reluctance to embrace a more abstract approach may have limited the integration of his discoveries into the broader scientific discourse of his time. Furthermore, Faraday's obsessive dedication to his work, while a source of strength, also cast a shadow over his personal life. His intense focus on science often came at the expense of his relationships, including his marriage to Sarah. This dedication created a tension that, at times, strained their bond, as Sarah struggled with the loneliness that came from being married to a man consumed by his passions. Faraday's inability to balance his work and personal life left behind not only a legacy of scientific achievement but also a narrative of sacrifice and solitude. Ultimately, while Faraday is rightly celebrated as a pioneering figure in science, a critical examination of his legacy reveals the complexities of his character. His groundbreaking discoveries paved the way for future advancements, yet his unconventional methods and personal struggles invite reflection on the multifaceted nature of genius. Faraday's story serves as a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge is often fraught with challenges and contradictions, highlighting the delicate balance between innovation and the human experience. Faraday passed away on August 25, 1867, leaving behind a legacy that would resonate for generations. His funeral was attended by many of his contemporaries, who recognized the profound impact he had on the scientific community. The loss of Faraday was felt deeply, not just for his discoveries, but for the man who had embodied the spirit of inquiry and dedication to knowledge. His passing marked the end of an era, yet his ideas continue to inspire future generations of scientists.